Something really strange happened the other day, and I just have to share it. My best friend walked into my dorm room and caught me in a moment I'll never forget. You know how privacy in a dorm feels more like a myth? You think you're finally alone, able to breathe, especially after a long day. And then life decides to throw a curveball. My roommate and best friend is Jack. He's the kind of guy who never texts before showing up, crashes at my place constantly, and acts like he owns the room. We've been roommates since freshman year, and at this point, I thought we knew everything about each other: habits, routines, quirks. It all started on a Tuesday. Just a regular, boring Tuesday. Jack told me he'd be out all evening, giving a lecture, then heading to a study group. He even left earlier than usual, slinging his bag over his shoulder like he had serious plans. So I figured, finally, I had the dorm to myself. I did what anyone would do when they get that rare alone time. I got comfortable, really comfortable. Socks on, no clothes, lights dim, music off, nothing weird, just soaking in the quiet, the softness of the sheets, the cool air on my skin. It felt like peace, a kind of freedom you hardly ever get. I laid back on my bed, phone in hand, scrolling through memes and music, totally relaxed. I thought the door was locked. There were the usual dorm sounds, muffled laughs in the hall, the hum of my fan, nothing out of the ordinary. Then I heard something. Faint. Keys jingling, a soft click. I figured it was just someone next door, so I didn't think much of it. But then the door handle turned, and I didn't move fast enough. The door swung open. Light spilled into the room. And there was Jack, halfway through saying something I didn't even catch because I was frozen in shock. I was completely naked. He stopped mid-step, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. And I just stared back, completely exposed, heart pounding like a drum. Time stopped. Neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. Then finally he blinked and muttered, "I'm sorry." But his voice cracked. I scrambled for the blanket, hands fumbling like they'd forgotten how to work. And then I found my voice, sort of, and shouted, "You said you'd be gone all night." Jack looked confused, still standing in the doorway like he'd walked in on a crime scene. "The study group got cancelled," he said, sounding more defensive than apologetic. "I texted you." "I said, 'Do not disturb,'" I snapped, still breathless. He shut the door behind him gently, then leaned against it, like the weight of the moment had just hit him, arms crossed, face unreadable. I was still wrapped in the blanket, heart racing like I'd run a marathon. "I didn't expect," he started, then stopped. "What?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. He rubbed the back of his neck. His cheeks were bright red. We both laughed, not to mock each other, just to release the tension. He moved slowly, like I might throw something at him, and sat on the edge of his bed. "I should have knocked," he said. "Yeah, you really should have," I whispered, still buried under the covers. There was a pause. Then he asked, "Is this something you always do when I'm not here? When you say you'll be gone for hours?" "Yeah," I said, not missing a beat. He nodded slowly, like pieces were clicking into place. "Didn't expect to walk in on a full moon." I rolled my eyes. "I'm getting a deadbolt." "Smart," he grinned, but then his smile faded. His voice softened. "Hey, I really am sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable." This time he meant it. Jack usually jokes everything off, but not this time. "I'm okay," I said, quieter now. He looked at me, longer than I expected. "Yeah, me too." There was something about the way he said it. Like maybe it wasn't just embarrassment I saw in his eyes when he walked in. Maybe it was something more. And the truth is, as shocked as I was, part of me didn't mind being seen. Not just physically, but really seen. That part scared me more than anything. I shifted under the blanket, cleared my throat. Next time you change plans, maybe send a warning. He smiled again, but his eyes held something unspoken. Next time, he said. But he didn't leave, didn't pretend things were back to normal. He stayed, seated, elbows on his knees, watching me from across the room. His gaze flickered, quick glances then away, like he couldn't help it. And I just sat there too, wrapped in that blanket like it could somehow shield me from what had just happened. But it wasn't the nudity that had shaken me. It was being seen, really seen, by him. He broke the silence again. It's not like I've never seen you shirtless before. I raised an eyebrow. Yeah, shirtless is a little different than totally naked. He chuckled. It wasn't mocking, just honest. Then he looked at me again, and this time he didn't look away. I didn't mean to, he said, but now I can't unsee it. Not just your body, the look on your face, the way you were just being. I held his gaze, hoping he wasn't weirded out. I could tell, and I hoped I wasn't either. His voice dropped, low and reflective. Do you usually feel that free when you're alone? The question caught me off guard. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't loaded. Just honest. I didn't know how to answer, but I had a feeling he already understood. His question didn't feel casual. It felt real. Like he wasn't just curious, he was trying to see me. Not judge, just see. I hesitated, trying to respond without breaking the unspoken balance between us. As we sat there, I finally said something. Anything. Just to fill the silence. Sometimes, I admitted, it just feels good to stop pretending for a minute. Jack, or John, depending on what you want to call him, relaxed a little, letting his hands drop. There was no pretending anymore. He always came off cool, even a bit distant, but not cold. I'd seen through it over time, and now I needed to know what he saw when he looked at me. Because if I'm being honest, when he walked through that door earlier, something in his eyes hit me hard, raw, unprocessed, like it wasn't just shock. It was something else. But I didn't ask. Not then. Maybe not ever. Instead, I shifted the mood, trying to play it off. Ran a hand through my hair like I wasn't nervous. Welp, I said, we've officially unlocked a new level in our roommate relationship. Congratulations, you've seen everything. Jack gave a sly grin, his eyes lighting up. I'm adding it to my resume, he joked. I laughed, a real laugh, surprising even myself. The tension cracked, but it didn't disappear. If anything, the humor just highlighted everything we weren't saying. Sorry if I was abrupt earlier, I muttered. I didn't mean to sound weird. He glanced over, his voice softer now. It's already strange, I added, my voice even quieter. He raised an eyebrow like he could tell I was holding something back. I stared at the ceiling. Something about the air felt different now. My bed, I said under my breath. I don't know. Maybe I just needed a break. You're not the only one, he replied after a beat, his voice steady but thoughtful. It's exhausting sometimes, he added, like I'm always trying to be this version of myself. Cool, confident, unbothered. But if I slip, even a little, people start asking questions. The way he said it made me freeze. Something was happening. I could feel it. I looked at him, surprised. Jack didn't usually talk like this. When something was off, he'd bury it under jokes and Red Bulls. He wasn't the type to let people in. People ask questions, I said, half joking. Sometimes, he replied. Not directly, but especially when we first became roommates. It's not the kind of thing guys talk about. The room felt smaller suddenly, and we hadn't moved. I shifted slightly, and the blanket slid a bit. Jack's eyes flicked to it, then away, but not fast enough. Our eyes locked, And this time, neither of us looked away. There was something in the stillness, not tension, not awkwardness, something else. I should probably put something on, I said, but I didn't move. Neither did he. We stayed there, letting the silence fill the space between us. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was charged. And honestly, that scared me more than being caught ever did. Because this wasn't about nudity. This was about whatever was waiting after this. Jack leaned back, arms folded behind his head. He looked relaxed, but his jaw was tight. "You ever think about all the stuff people don't say?" he asked. I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Sometimes I think silence says more than words ever could," he continued. "We dance around feelings we already share because we're too scared to speak them." His words landed like sparks on dry grass. I swallowed hard. Were we talking about the same thing? His smirk was gone. Beneath his calm there was something careful, waiting, watching. I answered slowly, choosing each word like it mattered. "Then maybe we shouldn't ignore it. Whatever this is." He didn't react at first, just held my gaze, unreadable. Then he nodded. "Okay." Not as a filler, not to be polite. It meant something. A step onto something fragile. A ledge. And once we crossed it, there was no going back. In that still moment, something shifted. We hadn't moved, but everything had changed. I adjusted the blanket, not to hide myself, but to give my hands something to hold. John sat exactly where he'd been, but his eyes were sharp now, focused, alert. I cleared my throat. "Are we actually talking about this, or just circling it?" He exhaled. It might have been a laugh, but it didn't quite land that way. "Maybe both." There was no teasing in his voice anymore. Just honesty. Real, raw honesty. It struck me how vulnerable he looked. He never showed that to anyone. And yet, here it was, written all over him. "I didn't mean to catch you off guard," he added quietly. "I wasn't trying to sneak up on you." "It's fine," I said, softer than I meant to, but it didn't feel like an accident anymore. It felt like something else. He nodded, almost to himself. "It was. I was stunned, seeing you like that. Not just exposed. You were unguarded." His words hit deep. "Is that a bad thing?" I asked. He shook his head. "Number just rare." Then he looked up, and something in his expression had changed. Heavier. "Have you ever felt like we've been dodging something? Laughing too hard, looking too long, not saying what we already know?" His confession filled the air like rain on the edge of a storm. I shifted again, and the blanket slid even lower. John's eyes flicked to it, then back to my face. Quickly, but not before I saw the way he swallowed. "I don't know what this is," he admitted. "I just know I feel it, like it's in my bones." "What are we supposed to do about it?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. But this time, I understood the silence. I nodded, my heart pounding. We couldn't pretend anymore. John stood slowly, like every step carried weight. He crossed the room and stood at the edge of the bed. The desk lamp cast gold across his face, his shadow brushing my legs. The air buzzed, charged, like something dangerous and beautiful. "Are we ready to fall?" he asked, his voice gravelly. I nodded. Words weren't enough. He sat beside me, the mattress dipping with his weight. I leaned in, pulled by something stronger than gravity. His presence was steady, warm. I could feel him even through the blanket. My fingers twitched, not from fear of rejection, but from fear of meaning. His hand brushed mine, tentative, waiting. I shifted, letting my hand find his. "You sure?" he asked, quiet but open. "No," I whispered, "but I want to be." That truth broke something open in both of us. We didn't move closer, we didn't need to. our hands just touching. That changed everything. In his eyes I saw everything: confusion, curiosity, fear, and hope. And for the first time neither of us looked away. The silence pulsed like static, like the room itself was holding its breath. John turned his head, and I felt his gaze before I met it. His eyes weren't playful anymore, or guarded. They searched me like he was reading beneath the skin. And when I didn't pull away, when I stayed, a small smile touched his lips. Not smug, relieved, like something had finally clicked into place. "I don't know what happens if we cross this line," he said softly, "but I know I can't keep pretending this means nothing." His words hit me, not for being dramatic, but for being true. I'd carried so much silence inside me, I'd forgotten what honesty felt like. And now we stood at the edge of something terrifying, but real. I turned to him fully. The blanket slipped off my shoulder, a bit more revealed. He noticed, but his eyes came back to mine just as quickly, burning. "Have you thought about it before?" I asked, my voice a whisper. "Not just tonight, I mean us?" He took his time, not because he didn't know, but because he wanted to say it right. "Yeah," he said, "I have, but not in a way that made sense. You were the one thing I kept trying not to want." That hit different. I let the silence stretch again. But now it wasn't fear keeping me quiet. I just didn't want to ruin it. "You're not just experimenting?" I asked, my voice trembling. John sat straighter. "Number, I've been trying to figure this out for a while. Maybe I don't have all the answers, but I do know I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what if." His words grounded me. I shifted closer and let our knees touch. Even that simple contact made the air warmer. Our breathing matched, slow, careful. "You're shaking," he said softly. "So are you," I whispered. And somehow that steadied us. He raised his free hand, rowing, and touched my jaw. His fingers trembled. I leaned into it. His thumb brushed the corner of my mouth, then rested on my cheek. It was such a small thing, but it set something off inside me. We're not just friends anymore, I thought. We were something else, something real. "I keep thinking," he whispered, his voice rough. "One kiss could change everything." I whispered something. Maybe a yes, maybe just his name. Something in him shifted. His hand slipped behind my neck, fingers threading through my hair. He leaned in. Slow, careful. Our lips brushed, just barely, but it hit me like a shockwave. He exhaled against my mouth, forehead resting on mine. "Tell me if you want to stop," he said. "I don't," I breathed, this time when his lips met mine. It wasn't hesitant. It wasn't rushed. It was slow, software, and full of heat. We kissed like we knew what it meant, like we didn't want to ruin it by going too fast. But underneath that tenderness was hunger, long buried, finally surfaced. The kiss deepened, steady, powerful, like the tide rolling in. His hand cupped my neck, anchoring me. I leaned closer, needing to feel him. It wasn't the casual touch of knees under desks, or shoulders brushing in the hallway. This was different. This was real. I opened for him, no hesitation. Our tongues met in a quiet, careful dance. He didn't push. He asked, and I said yes without words. A soft sound escaped him, something between relief and need. My hand slid to his waist, where his shirt had ridden up. His skin was hot, muscles shifting beneath my touch. He tensed, then leaned in further. His back arched under my fingers. He eased me down onto the bed, his knee between mine, and I let him in. Without thinking, just feeling the nearness, the warmth, the pull of gravity between us, it was all too much, and somehow not enough. I placed my hands on his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart echoing my own. When I reached for the hem of his shirt, he paused. His eyes met mine, asking once more. I answered with a quiet nod, my fingers already lifting the fabric. In an instant, the shirt was gone, cast aside and forgotten. My gaze drifted over him, his flushed skin, the tight lines of muscle, energy coiled just beneath the surface. But what truly stopped me was the look in his eyes, like I mattered, like I was something rare. And he was holding back, not because he didn't want me, but because he didn't want to break me. As we moved closer, I could hardly believe this was real. "You're not dreaming," he whispered, maybe more to himself than to me. I reached up, threaded my fingers through his hair, and pulled him close. This kiss, it was wild, hungry, a storm breaking free. His hands found me, unsure at first, then growing bolder, tracing, learning. He was everywhere, his breath, his weight, his warmth, wrapping around me like a tide. Every touch sparked something deeper, something raw. His lips left mine, grazing my jaw, my neck. Each kiss slow, intentional. I tilted my head, offering more, and a gasp escaped before I could stop it. When he found that spot just beneath my ear, his grip on my shoulder tightened. And when he let out a soft moan, the sound vibrated through me. There was no awkwardness, no hesitation, just this honest, unguarded moment we stepped into together. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't just desire. We took our time, undressing not to rush, but to feel, to truly connect, skin to skin, nothing between us. And when we finally were, it felt like even the room held its breath. The air shimmered with something sacred. I ran my hands slowly down his back, taking in every inch, while his lips found my collarbone, whispering words I couldn't even catch through the rush of feeling. His body pressed against mine, his hips moving with just enough pressure to send sparks through me. I arched, gasped, held on to him tighter, not from fear, but from wanting to melt into him completely. When he looked at me again, there was something soft in his eyes, something that undid me. This wasn't about curiosity. He wasn't here just to try something. He was here because he couldn't stay away. Like something had always been pulling us toward this moment, and now we had finally stopped resisting. His hands cupped my face and he kissed me again, harder this time, like he meant every second of it. And without warning, tears welled up in my eyes. Afterward, we went still. No words, just the sound of our breathing, the soft creak of the mattress beneath us, and the quiet rhythm of two people finally letting go. There was nothing to prove, nothing to hide, just peace. It felt like falling, but not the kind that hurts. More like falling into something we'd both needed, deep down, for a long time. We clung to each other, coming down from the high of it all, our limbs tangled, hearts racing. And something inside me shifted, not broken, but changed in a way that left me breathless. The next morning, everything felt right. Golden sunlight slipped through the blinds, painting soft stripes across Jack's bare back. I stayed there, just watching him sleep, his breathing steady, lips slightly parted, lashes brushing his cheeks. He looked calm, content. And in that still moment, I knew. It wasn't a dream. This wasn't just a heat-of-the-night mistake. He had gone all the way to the edge with me, and neither of us had pulled away. I shifted slightly, trying not to wake him, but his eyes fluttered open. Still heavy with sleep, he blinked a few times, then smiled, a slow, shy smile that made my heart skip. "Hey," he murmured, voice rough. "Hey," I whispered back. He stretched, then wrapped an arm around my waist like it was the most natural thing in the world. And maybe, in that moment, it was. Maybe this, us, was exactly where we were meant to be. "I have no idea what time it is," he mumbled. "It doesn't matter," I said, and meant it. We lay there, tucked beneath the same blanket in our quiet college room, wrapped in stillness. I half expected the weight of reality to crash in, confusion, regret, panic, something. But it never came. Instead, there was calm, a pause, like the world had stopped just long enough to let us breathe. "I meant everything I said last night," he said softly. "None of it was just in the moment." I turned toward him, my heart thudding. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I don't know what this means or where it goes, but I know I don't want to pretend it didn't happen." Relief hit me so fast it nearly knocked the air from my lungs. "Me either," I said. And then he kissed me again. This time his kiss was gentle, like we were sealing something between us. Then he leaned in, rested his forehead against mine, and whispered, "We'll figure it out." There were still so many things we hadn't said, about us, about what this meant for our friendship, for our future. But none of it scared me anymore. His fingers slid between mine like they'd always belonged there, and for a second, I could have stayed like that forever, just existing beside him, while the world outside kept turning. Later, when I stepped outside, everything felt different. We weren't just best friends anymore, and we didn't need a label to define us either. We were something in between, something real, something we could build on. I never saw it coming. There was a moment right before I fell asleep where fear crept in, where I wondered if I'd made a mistake, if maybe I'd just shattered the most important friendship of my life. But we woke up, and it didn't feel like ruin. It felt like a beginning. Still, I don't know where this is headed. I want to believe what he said was real, and the truth is, I do believe him. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. I overthink. I spiral. I don't always know how to let go and just be. So here I am, still wondering. Do I bring it up again? Try to define it? Set boundaries, expectations? Or do I just breathe? Let it be what it's meant to be, and trust that we'll find our way. If you were me, what would you do? Because honestly, I could really use some advice. Thanks for staying with me until the very end. If this story touched something in you, please like the video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe to Anonymous Gay Tales for more heartfelt stories like this. Your support truly means the world.